It's 6:15 a.m. Your alarm goes off, and the first thing you feel isn't energy. It's a weight in your chest. You're already thinking about the 3 back-to-back meetings you have, the stack of emails that multiplied overnight, and that one project that's about 2 days behind schedule. You stumble into the kitchen, grab a coffee, and check your bank account. And here's the kicker. The number is fine. You're making good money. Maybe you're even clearing 6 figures. But as you look at that balance, you realize something terrifying. If you stopped working today, if you just decided to stay in bed and actually breathe for a week, that number would stop growing. And eventually, it would disappear. You're trapped. You've built a life where you have the stuff, but you don't have the time. You're successful by every metric society gives us, yet you're essentially a high-paid hamster on a very expensive wheel. Does that sound familiar? Because that is the definition of being busy, not being rich. And today, we're going to fix that. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about the relationship between time and capital. If you're someone who feels like you're working harder every year just to stay in the exact same place financially, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, here's the thing. We have been sold a lie about what wealth actually is. Most people think being rich is about the size of your paycheck. They think if they can just get that 20% raise or that senior VP title, they'll finally be rich. No. That's not how it works. If you make $250,000 a year but you have to work 80 hours a week to keep it, you aren't rich. You're just a very efficient biological machine for converting time into currency. True wealth isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in time units. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. Let's look at some stats, because this is where most people get it wrong. According to recent Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the average American professional spends about 8.8 hours a day working. But when you factor in the commute, the winding down after work, and the mental load of checking Slack at dinner, that number is closer to 11 or 12 hours. Now, let's do some quick math. Suppose you earn $100,000 a year. Great salary, right? But if you're busy, meaning you're putting in 60 hours a week, your hourly rate is roughly $32 per hour after taxes and expenses. Now, take someone who earns $60,000 a year but has structured their life so they only work 15 hours a week on a specialized skill or a semi-passive business. Their hourly rate? $76 per hour. Who is actually richer? The person with the $100,000 salary is a slave to their calendar. The person with the $60,000 salary owns their Tuesday afternoons. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think the goal is to increase the numerator, the money. But the real secret to being rich is optimizing the denominator, the time. Now, you might be thinking, Zach, that sounds great, but I have bills. I can't just work 15 hours a week. I get it. But we have to address the psychology behind why we stay busy. There's a concept in psychology called status signaling. In our culture, being busy has become a status symbol. When someone asks how you are and you say, ugh, so busy, what you're actually saying is, I am important. People need me. I am in demand. We've Pavlov-dogged ourselves into thinking that if we aren't exhausted, we aren't productive. Here's what most people don't realize. Busy is a defensive mechanism. It's a way to avoid the hard work of thinking. It's much easier to clear 100 emails than it is to sit down for 2 hours and figure out how to build a system that replaces you. Busy feels like progress, but usually it's just motion. Think of it like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. There's also the hedonic treadmill. You get the raise, you buy the nicer car, you get the bigger mortgage. Now your baseline cost of living has gone up. To fund that baseline, you have to stay busy. You've essentially collateralized your future time to pay for your present vanity. You aren't working for yourself anymore. You're working for the bank, the car dealership, and the guy who mows your lawn because you're too busy working to do it yourself. So how do we shift from the busy column to the rich column? It requires a total re-engineering of how you view your output. We need to focus on 3 things: lethal skills, asymmetric returns, and systematization. 1. Lethal skills. The math of leverage. In the old economy, you were paid for your input. You traded an hour for $1. In the new economy, the wealthy are paid for their judgment and their specialized knowledge. If you are a generalist, You will always be busy because you are replaceable. If anyone can do what you do, the only way you can compete is by working more hours or charging less money. But if you develop what I call a lethal skill, something that is rare, high value, and difficult to outsource, your value per hour skyrockets. Let's use a real dollar example. Imagine you're a freelance writer. You charge $50 an hour to write blog posts. To make $5,000 a month, you have to work 100 hours. You're busy. Now, imagine you spend 6 months learning the lethal skill of direct response copywriting for high-ticket SaaS companies. Now, you don't charge by the hour. You charge $5,000 per project because your writing generates $50,000 in sales for the client. You might spend 10 hours on that project. Your hourly rate just went from $50 to $500. You made the same amount of money in 10% of the time. That is how you start buying back your life. 2. Asymmetric returns. Here's a concept that changed my life. Stop looking for linear income. Linear income is, I work 1 hour, I get paid X dollars. Asymmetric income is, I work 100 hours once, and it pays me forever. This is the difference between being a consultant and being an owner. An owner builds assets. A book is an asset. A piece of software is an asset. A YouTube channel is an asset. A rental property is an asset. Most people spend their busy time performing tasks. Rich people spend their busy time building assets. Think of it like building a well. The busy person spends their whole life carrying buckets of water from the river to the village. They get paid for every bucket. The rich person spends a year building a pipe. While they're building the pipe, they aren't making any money. They look lazy or unsuccessful. But once the pipe is finished, they can turn the faucet on and go to sleep. The water keeps flowing. 3. Systematization. The death of the to-do list. I hate to-do lists. You know why? Because a to-do list is just a list of ways to stay busy. Instead of a to-do list, I want you to start building a standard operating procedure, SOP, for your life. Ask yourself this question every time you do a repetitive task. How can I make it so I never have to do this again? Can you automate it with software? Can you outsource it to a virtual assistant for $15 an hour so you can focus on your $500 an hour skill? Can you delete the task entirely? If your business or your job requires you to be there for every single decision, you don't own a business. You own a job with a very demanding boss, yourself. Now, I can hear some of you through the screen. Zach, I'm an employee. I can't just systematize my boss away. Actually, you can. Even within a 9-to-5, the rich, not busy mindset applies. If you become the person who creates the systems that make the entire department more efficient, you become indispensable. You gain leverage. You can negotiate for remote work, for flexible hours, or for a higher salary based on the value you created, not the hours you sat in a chair. And if your boss won't go for it, then you take those lethal skills and you go somewhere that values output over butt-in-seat time. Don't let your busyness be a cage you built for yourself. I don't want this to be another video you watch and then forget. I want you to actually change your trajectory. So here is your actionable 30-day plan to be rich, not busy. Step 1. The time audit. For the next 7 days, I want you to track every 30 minutes of your day. No excuses. At the end of the week, categorize your time into 2 buckets, $20 tasks and $1,000 tasks. $20 tasks. Answering basic emails, grocery shopping, mindless scrolling, repetitive data entry. A $1,000 tasks. Strategy, learning a new skill, building an asset, networking with high-level people, resting. Yes, rest is a high-value task. Your goal is to eliminate or outsource 50% of the $20 tasks by the end of the month. Step 2. The lethal skill identification. Identify one skill that, if you mastered it, would triple your hourly value. Spend 1 hour every morning, before you check your phone, before you start your busy work, practicing that skill. This is what Cal Newport calls deep work. It is the rarest commodity in the modern world. If you can do deep work, you will naturally become rich because no one else has the discipline to do it. Step 3. Invest in freedom assets. Stop investing just for retirement. Start investing for bridge income. Most people put money in a 401k they can't touch until they're 65. That's fine, but it doesn't help you now. Start looking for assets that produce cash flow today. Dividend stocks. a small side hustle that's automated, or even just high-yield savings for a runway fund. The more months of living expenses you have in the bank, the less busy you have to be. Money in the bank is a no fund. It gives you the power to say no to the boss you hate or the project that drains your soul. Here's the truth that most people will never admit. The reason most people are busy is that they are afraid of what they would do if they were free. If you didn't have the busyness to hide behind, you'd have to face the big questions. You'd have to decide what your life is actually about. Being rich isn't about having a Lamborghini in the driveway of a house you're never at because you're always at the office. Being rich is having a Tuesday morning where you wake up without an alarm, go for a walk, read a book, and know that your financial machine is humming along in the background without you having to touch it. That is the goal. Stop glorifying the grind. Start glorifying the system. Look, life is too short to spend the best years of your existence staring at a spreadsheet for someone else's dream. You have the tools, you have the math, and now you have the mindset. If you found this helpful, seriously, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out a ton and ensures you don't miss the next deep dive into how to actually master your money. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What is one $20 task you are going to stop doing this week? Let's hold each other accountable. I'm Zach. Thanks for watching. Now go. Stop being busy and start getting rich.